is the front liner of the ascending, hence called cecum. Cecum is actually from the Latin term ceca. Ceca is ceca means sac, no. Ceca means front liner. Panguna, receding, okay? Frontliner, defense, frontliner, parang shadows. Okay? Okay. Ceca, hence called cecum. Frontliner prior ascending colon. Okay, the first pouch prior ascending colon. And cecum, okay, the cecum is parang low yung chances na pumutok siya. Low chances to explode or to rupture kahit using rule of gravity, bumabagsak yung ibang fecaloid material. Diba? Umaasa yung fecal material from haustrations, peristalsis. Sasara, bubo ka. Sasara, iba pa sa taas. Gets nyo? Ay, oo, gano'n. Ano, umusog na lang yung food ng
Sarap pala.
Kunyari, ito yung food. Ipapass niya. So, kunyari, again yun alternating. Sasara. Ipupush, syempre. Bubuka na siya. Pero ito, nakabuka na. Hello? Pero it's more of the job of the upper back plexus to induce peristalsis. Okay? And of course, the Meissner's plexus also induces peristalsis. The S or the sympathetic part of the upper back, remember it's both sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, the S part of the upper back or the S function is sympathetic. It's more of secretomotor. Induces the eye cells to secrete, induces and regulates the ampoules to secrete, the eye cells to secrete, the S cells secretes, something about GI tract. Got now? S is for secretomotor, sympathetic. Our backs is both sympathetic and parasympathetic. Pero ang submucosal plexus or the Meissner's, sympathetic or pure parasympathetic? You want a mnemonic? Hindi kayo makakapunta ng SM, submucosal Meissner's ng umaga, may pasok. So, anong oras kayo pupunta sa SM? PM, SM. Ayaw nyo? Akin nyo. Parasympathetic only. Alright. Alright. Okay, so the cecum, to avoid a rupture, to avoid explosion, because of gravity, di ba? Okay? So, ano yung law that allows the cecum to expand and be stretched without rupture? What do you call that law that assists and supports the explanation why is that the cecum, despite law of gravity, it allows stretch na walang pain na mararamdaman? Law of Laplace or law of Laplace. Got that? You follow? Okay. What do you call this vermiform structure or viscous found at the lowest border of the cecum? Appendix. What is the most common site? Where's the most common site location of the appendix with respect to the cecum? Retroscecal. Alam niyo kung binibilisan ko yung na-condition na ako mabilis ang boses? Kasi ang bilis yung sumagot. Bali ko, second round. Ay, kasi ganito naman yan. Kasi before, kaya ako mabilis sumagot, ay magsalita. Kasi meron kaming teacher ganito. Na kaya naman sabihin in 15 seconds, umabot ng 2 minutes. Ha? Ganda siya magsalita. Okay, so this is the appendix. Okay din siya. This is the appendix. The appendix, most common location. Eyes on the board. Just retrocecum. That is the first most common site. What's the word? competition tuloy ako na mabilis. Tapos, lalo na yung batch nyo, wala pang tanong, may answer na. Nakakatakot kayo, wala pang tanong, may answer na. Naintindihan nyo na kung nagpabilis ng salita ako dyan. So the most common site, the first most common site with respect to the cecum is the retrocecal, or also known as retrocolate, something behind the colon or the cecum. Second most common site is, or position is pointing to the right iliac fossa. Here, this is iliac fossa. Remember? Iliac wing.
Yes.
That basin is the fossa created by the iliac wing. So that is the second most common site. Third most common is pointing to the ascis. Third most common is pointing to the pelvic cavity, pointing to the uterus or the prostate gland of the male. And the least most common, eyes on the board, least most common is a very long appendix that happens to be found behind the ileum, retroileum. So I hope you know na kung bakit nasa likod ang most common. Because during the outgrowth of the appendix is the dragging fashion or the dragging displacement of the cecum. Hence, the most common, 85% of the time, is retrocecal. Usual board exam question, usual surgery question. Okay? Alright. So again, tignan nyo. Most common, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Paano nag-swing na? Okay? 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 Huh? Okay, let's proceed with the second column. Baliw na si Doc Jam. Kasi sabi sa isang comment niyo, si Doc Jam melodramatic.
Oh.
E di maging gay, happy. Hindi, okay lang yun. Pero huwag niyo ako kausapin pag portrait ako. Okay, ito na. Titignan nyo na. This is the most common location and position of the appendix with respect to the cecum. Okay, this time, this is the ascending colon. Okay, roll of 2 centimeters. The cecum and the appendix are intraperitoneal. Okay? How about the ascending colon? The ascending colon is retro. Remember my kwento sa embryo? For most reasons, researchers do not fully understand. The ascending colon and the descending colon and ascending, are pressed against the posterior abdominal wall. Since the splanchning, or rules na about past cases, the splanchning of the colon adheres to the somatic of the posterior abdominal wall. We all know if these two combines, it leads to fibrous degeneration eventually after consolidation and condensation as one ply. And it will activate caspases to obliterate it, making descending and the ascending retroperitoneal. You got that? Okay. The whole length of the ascending is retro, except the last 2 centimeters. Appreciate yung mga last 2 centimeters? The last 2 centimeters of the ascending colon, which is intraperitoneal, continuing with the transverse colon's lumen, which is also intraperitoneal, retro. Cecum is intra, appendix is intra. Okay? Kaya may tinatawag, guys, na, eyes on the board, hepatic flexure, which holds the proximal end of the transverse colon to the liver. Kaya siya naka-anchor sa liver, hence called hepatic flexure. And yung pang-anchor niya is to wrap that part of the ascending with intraperitoneal side to side. Okay? So rules of 2 centimeters, the last 2 centimeters of the ascending colon, and the rest of the transverse colon. So include, what do you call that? This next flexure? Splenic, which is the first 2 centimeters of the descending, is still intraperitoneal. You follow? Okay. So the whole length of the descending colon, is retroperitoneal, except the first 2 centimeters. Okay, ang hint nyo dyan, the transverse colon is intra. Ascending and descending are retro. The first 2 centimeters prior transverse and the last 2 centimeters after transverse are intra also. Intra, intra, intra. Sana ma-appreciate yung paano naman ako nasa Baguio? Sana ma-appreciate yung alternating ng intraperitoneal, retroperitoneal, ha? Intra, intra,
Retro.
ascending,
Retro.
except
Last 2 centimeters.
centimeters, which is
Intra.
intra. Transverse colon,
Intra. Intra.
descending colon, full length,
Retro.
except
First 2
first 2
centimeters.
centimeters. Okay, how about sigmoid?
Intra.
Intra. Okay, rectum.
Retro.
You got that? Okay. Okay, next. So ito yung pinaragos ko sa inyo. There are 3 Taenia coli. Actually, the proper term for that is Taenia coli. There are 3 Taenia coli. Ito yung longitudinal muscles running sa outermost part ng wall ng colon. There are 3 Taenia coli. You have Taenia libera, Taenia mesocolia, very good, and Taenia epiploica. Epiploica. Okay? So, kailangan ma-appreciate niyo siya sa cadaver. A Taenia coli with no attachment or any structure that attached to it is free of any attachment. Hence called libera. Liberated, freedom, liberty. Statue of liberty. Okay, again, no attachment at all. That is Taenia coli libera. If that Taenia is attached to the mesentery, that is Taenia mesocolia. Okay, last, if a Taenia is equipped with epiploic fat pod, that is Taenia epiploica. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, next. See nga, let's go back to the ileum. If you count 40 to 60 centimeters from the ileocecal valve backwards, ano yung makikita niyo sa anti-mesenteric border ng ileum? The vitelline duct remnant. If that is a dim plane, vitelline duct remnant. If that is still in outpocketing, that is Meckel's diverticulum. Very good. If the Meckel's diverticulum herniates through the abdominal wall, what's your diagnosis? Litres. Nalala niyo ba yun? Okay, very good. How about if appendix? Amiens. Okay, so this is still part of the midgut. To be specific, caudal limb of the midgut, the cecum, the ascending colon, and the transverse colon. Transverse colon. Except nasal. All of these are caudal limb of the midgut up until transverse colon, except the distal 1/3. Okay, hindi half. Huh? Distal 1/3. Okay, because the distal 1/3 of the transverse colon is already part of the hindgut. You got that? Okay, last part. Ito na, hindgut na. Hindgut. The hindgut, so we're done with the foregut proper, midgut. This time, hindgut. The hindgut starts from
Distal 1/3.
the distal third of the transverse colon. What do you call this area found between the proximal 2/3 and the... Ayan, diba? Wala pa akong question. Pero very good. That is the watershed area. Define watershed area. Define watershed area. What is watershed area versus catch basin? Yun na lang. What is watershed area? What is catch basin? Kubaran mo nga ako kasi matulog. Go. Sir Alvin, tuloy tayo na yun. What is watershed area? Define.
Tuloy ito.
Ano pagkakaintindi niyo ng watershed? Para ma-appreciate nyo. Why is that this part is the most common site of colonic ischemia? Sige, what is ischemia? Low perfusion of blood supply, specifically arterial. How about colonic infarction? Wala talaga. Either infarcted, blocked, necrosed. Talaga mamamatay yung segment na yon. Okay? So, why is that? This watershed area is characterized as the most common site of colonic ischemia and colonic infarction. Because it is considered as, colloquially by surgeon, as watershed area. Why? Ano bang watershed? Hindi. What is catch basin? Lahat ng baha sa Cavite at saka ng Rizal napunta sa Laguna. That is catch basin. What is watershed?
Sa gitna.
Yan naman yung nangyari sa Cavite. Lahat ng baha napunta sa Laguna. Bahay. Ganyan ang forma ko. Kaya. Sorry. Kasi nanggangalit na yung belt ko. Again, go.
Ito nang gagal.
Yun, that's watershed. Okay? Siya yung nawawala naman. Okay? Because the arterial supply of the transverse colon ay galing sa SMA. Actually, dyan na tayo papunta, arterial supply. It's from the superior mesenteric artery. Okay? To be specific, you know the mnemonic Mr. J-I-I-C pump? No, sige. So, Mr. J-I-I-C-I pump. Mr. J-I-I-C-I pump is the acronym or mnemonic for SMA branches, superior mesenteric arteries. And we all know that SMA is the main source of arterial supply going to the midgut derivative. So it means lower half of the duodenum up until proximal 2/3 of the transverse colon.
Yes.
Okay, this is the proximal 2/3 of the colon. It is arterially supplied by letter M, middle colic. Okay, how about this part, the distal 1/3? The distal 1/3 is the start of the hindgut, remember? This is hindgut. And the main source of arterial supplies for the hindgut derivative this time is inferior mesenteric artery. To be specific, you know the mnemonic last song, synonym song? These are branches of the inferior mesenteric artery. Focus on letter L. L stands for left colic. Colic going to the descending colon. Eyes on me, para magising kayo. Alam niyo bakit tumatayo sa simbahan? Tayo, duho, tayo. Para magising. Oo, Neil, geneflect, Neil, busy with you. Ganyan yung ginagawa ko sa inyo. Eyes on me? Okay, game. Middle colic is a branch of superior mesenteric going to the transverse colon. To be specific, middle. Okay? Middle part of the proximal. But we all know the transition between midgut and hindgut is the watershed area. Proximal 2/3, 1/3. Not half, not middle. Okay? Next point. The arterial supply going to the descending colon is the letter L of inferior mesenteric. And this is left colic. Sige nga, if we'll analogize all of these, R stands for right colic going to the descending to the ascending colon. Right colic artery, middle colic artery. Mister. How about left colic? Left colic going to the descending. What viscous? What specific viscous here na parang walang direct arterial supply? This is going to the descending, the right going to the ascending. There's a middle colic for the transverse colon's middle part. Ano yung hindi nadadaluyan ng blood? The distal 1/3. Hence called watershed area.
Oh.
But there are two God's ways how to assure that this part should be perfused with arterial blood. How? Number one, a direct connection between M, middle, and the L, left, call it. What do you call this artery which follows the contour of the transverse colon inferior and the right side of the descending? What do you call this artery that connects the middle colic artery and the right colic and the left colic artery? This is called artery of, eyes on the board, Gamon. That's one way how to reassure that and secure that this area should be perfused with blood. What is the other term for artery of Gamon? The marginal artery. Okay, that's one. Number two, can you name another artery that secures arterial supply to that watershed area? This time, it connects the half part of the middle colic to the half part of the left colic and releases artery. What do you call this? Eyes on the board. Eyes on the board. Arc of Riolan. Alright? Okay, these are two arteries that secures this part to be perfused with arterial supply. Kaya wala tayo colonic ischemia, colonic infarct. Because in this watershed area, and hindi nagluyan ng blood supply, it could lead to either loss of a segment, death of a segment, a replacement with fibrous strand, okay? Or inside the lumen, you appreciate there's a thin diaphragm, a translucent diaphragm that prevents further movement of the fecal material. You understand? Okay. Okay. Next. So this is descending. The whole length of the descending colon is retroperitoneal, right? Except the first 2 centimeters. Okay. When or where is the what anatomical bony component could help you out in declaring that is the end of the descending colon, but that is the start of the sigmoid colon? Again, what anatomical structure, bony structure, that helps you out in demarcating end of descending but start of the sigmoid? May mnemonic ang section B? B ba? Okay, B. What bony structures, or bony structure muna, that marks end of the descending but start of the sigmoid? You want mnemonic?
Yes.
Okay. iPhone tsaka Samsung 3. Parehong kailangan ng same card. Sigmoid. Sigmoid starts at the level of iliac fossa. Very good. Okay. Sigmoid is the second longest viscous among all the large intestine. Second most longest. The longest is the transverse. Okay. And it ends where? Sacral third vertebra. Okay? Third sacral vertebra. Iliac fossa up until S3. So it means S3 marks the start of rectum. Okay, the rectum is composed of 3 chambers. And the rectum is subdivided by these valves in establishing 3 chambers. And these are the Houston valve. Houston valve. Trivia. Houston valve is considered as a specimen of choice in rectal biopsy. Why? Houston valve is considered as a specimen of choice in any rectal biopsies. Why? Bakit kaya hindi yung wall ang kunin for rectal biopsy? Bakit yung Houston valve ang pinapunch biopsy tapos checkin mo for Hirschsprung's disease? Yeah, yes. Even the wall has auerbach's plexus. Even the wall has. Bakit kaya ang Houston valve ang mas kinukuha? Bakit kaya ito ang kinukuha? Or specimen of choice for rectal biopsy in checking for Hirschsprung's disease or rectal cancer. Bakit ito kaya kinukuha? Hindi yung wall. Kasi kapag nag-punch biopsy ka, kumuha ka sa wall, it could lead to a probable perforation. Binutas mo. Pero if you get a specimen using the valve, still that is a rectal wall. Pero low chances, actually no chances of perforating the wall. Okay? You got that?
Yes.
So it is the Houston valve that is considered as the specimen of choice for rectal biopsy. Okay? And the last part, last derivative of the hindgut is the upper half of the anal canal, which is marked by what line?
Pectinate
The
line.
pectinate line. The pectinate line, let's say this is the anus, is equipped with valves above that. A vertical valve, paano siya ganyan? Na kapag nawala yung valve formation, naging parang cup, it means pulled na siya ng fecal material. Ready for, ayun na. What do you call this? Longitudinal, vertical valves. Anal sphincter, not yet. No, Hilton's, LaSalle. If this is pectinate line that separates upper half of the anus and the lower half of the anus, Hilton's line is a white line that demarcates histologic, non-keratinized, and keratinized stratified squamous. This is Hilton's. But I'm asking, what do you call this vertical longitudinal valve? Na kapag nag-stretch, meaning puno na ang pupo, ng pupo, which is found above the pectinate line. Eyes on the board. Sige, go. Columns of. Columns of morgagni. It is the same discoverer of morgagni's hernia. Sige nga, morgagni's hernia. Okay, it's a herniation of intestinal viscera to the right. Okay. Tapos na for your part as an anti-sector.
Yay.
So kindly endorse Baker